August 8, 1944, near Saint-Thô, south of Caen, Normandy, France. The leather of his commander's gloves creaked as Hauptmann Michael Wittmann gripped the cupola of Tiger 007, scanning the hedgerow-lined horizon through his Zeiss binoculars. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from a revelation that had been building since dawn. They keep coming, Mother of God. They never stop coming. For 3 hours, his company of 4 Tiger tanks had destroyed Sherman after Sherman. 27 burning Hawks littered the fields around the Caen-Falaise road. Each Tiger had claimed at least 6 kills. By every measure of tactical combat, they were winning decisively. The exchange ratio was magnificent, nearly 7-to-1. Yet through his binoculars, Wittmann counted 48 more Shermans advancing from 3 different directions. Fresh units, unblooded crews, full ammunition racks. Behind them, columns of dust suggested dozens more approaching. His 4 Tigers had perhaps 12 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition left between them. No fuel for major maneuvers, no reserves coming. The mathematics of annihilation were being written not in individual tank battles, but in production statistics that rendered tactical brilliance irrelevant. Within minutes, Michael Wittmann would be dead, his legendary Tiger destroyed by either a Sherman Firefly or Canadian forces. Historians still debate which. But his final radio transmission, logged at 12:47 hours, captured the despair of every German tanker who faced American production. Munition erschöpft, Gegner unbegrenzt. Ammunition exhausted, enemy unlimited. The story of German tank superiority began on May 26, 1941, at the Berghof, Hitler's mountain retreat. Ferdinand Porsche and Henschel presented prototypes for what would become the Tiger tank. Hitler, mesmerized by the massive 88mm gun and armor no Allied tank could penetrate, immediately ordered production. This tank will be worth a battalion of ordinary tanks. 1 Tiger will destroy a dozen enemy vehicles. The philosophy was set. Quality would triumph over quantity. Each Tiger would be a masterpiece of engineering, handcrafted, invincible. The Americans, Hitler assured his staff, could never match German excellence. Their tanks would be Detroit tin cans on tracks. The first Tiger rolled off production at Henschel's Kassel factory on August 4, 1942. It had taken 300,000 man-hours to complete. Workers installed 26,000 individual parts. Master craftsmen hand-fitted the transmission. Skilled welders spent days on armor plates. Oberst Wolfgang Tomele, watching the first trials, wrote, "This machine represents the pinnacle of German engineering. If we can produce 100 per month, the war is won." Germany would never produce 100 Tigers in any month. The highest achieved in April 1944, after 2 years of optimization, was 104 tanks. By then, American factories were producing 2,000 Shermans monthly. The story of American tank production began with a telephone call. On May 28, 1940, William Knudsen, former president of General Motors, received a call from President Roosevelt. "Bill," the president said, "I want you to come to Washington. We need to build 50,000 planes and 50,000 tanks." Knudsen's response defined American philosophy. "Mr. President, we cannot build the best tanks, but we can build the most tanks. And we can build them so any kid from Iowa can fix them with a wrench and screwdriver. The Sherman emerged from this philosophy. At a design meeting on August 31st, 1940, requirements horrified traditional engineers, but delighted Detroit production experts. Simple enough for inexperienced workers to build, parts interchangeable between all variants, engines running on multiple fuel types, armor plates welded rather than precisely fitted, tracks replaceable in field conditions. Major General Gladion Barnes told contractors, "I do not want a perfect tank. I want a good enough tank we can build 1,000 for every 100 the Germans build." The contrast became evident in factories themselves. At Henschel's Kassel plant, 9,000 skilled workers labored to produce Tigers. The factory resembled a medieval guild workshop. Master craftsmen supervised apprentices. Each tank was essentially hand-built. Unteroffizier Franz Leinhardt, who worked there, recalled, "We spent 3 days on the final drive assembly alone. Every gear checked with micrometers. Every weld inspected 3 times. It was not mass production. It was art." Meanwhile, at Chrysler's Detroit Tank Arsenal, opened September 15, 1941, reality was radically different. The factory covered 1.25 million square feet, larger than all German tank factories combined. Instead of master craftsmen, the workforce consisted of former automobile workers, housewives, teenagers, anyone who could operate a welding torch. Rose Will Monroe, who became Rosie the Riveter, worked on Sherman production. She later described, "I had never seen a tank before building them. They gave us 2 days training, then put us on the line. Everything broken into simple steps. I welded one seam, the tank moved. Someone else welded the next. We finished a tank in 4 hours." By December 1942, production statistics told a story German commanders refused to believe. Across America, 11 factories built Shermans. Detroit Tank Arsenal alone produced 896 monthly. Total American monthly production, approximately 3,500 Shermans. German monthly Tiger production, same period, 34 tanks. The ratio was already 103 to 1. General Heinz Guderian, Inspector General of Panzer Troops, received these figures through intelligence in January 1943. His diary entry was succinct. "If these numbers are even half true, we have already lost the war." The production disparity created cascading effects multiplying American advantages. With thousands of Shermans available, American crews trained on actual tanks. At Fort Knox, the Armored Force School had hundreds dedicated solely to training. Crews spent 12 weeks learning every aspect. They fired thousands of rounds, drove hundreds of miles, performed maintenance until they could replace any component blindfolded. Private First Class Clarence Smoyer, training at Fort Knox, recalled, "We beat the hell out of those training tanks. Drove them till they broke, fixed them, drove them again. By the time we shipped out, I knew that tank better than my family's tractor." In Germany, Tiger training told a different story. With production barely exceeding 100 monthly at peak, training vehicles were virtually non-existent. The Panzertruppenschule at Putlos had exactly 4 Tigers for training purposes. 4 tanks to train crews for every Tiger unit in the Wehrmacht. Gefreiter Kurt Knispel, assigned to Schwere Panzerabteilung 503, described, We had 3 days in an actual Tiger. 3 days. We spent most training studying diagrams and sitting in wooden mock-ups. When we received our Tigers in Russia, half the crew had never started a Maybach engine. D-Day, June 6, 1944, marked the beginning of mathematical demonstration that would devastate German armor. The Allies landed with 4,000 tanks, mostly Shermans, with 8,000 more waiting in England. Against this, Germany assembled its best. 1,347 Tigers produced total since 1942, of which approximately 430 were operational on all fronts combined. In Normandy itself, just 102 Tigers. SS Obersturmführer Ernst Streng of Schwere SS Panzer Abteilung 101 witnessed reality on June 7th near Caen. We destroyed 8 Shermans in morning engagement. By afternoon, 16 more had taken their place. We destroyed 6 of those. By evening, fresh companies kept arriving. They came like ants. You could step on dozens, hundreds, and thousands more were behind them. The replacement rate told the real story. When America lost a Sherman, a new one arrived from England within 48 hours. Colonel Joseph Grubb maintained reserves of 2,300 Shermans in British depots. Damaged tanks were repaired within hours or simply abandoned for new vehicles. When Germany lost a Tiger, replacement took weeks or months, if it came at all. Each Tiger required special railway cars. The journey from Germany to Normandy took 5 days under optimal conditions. Allied air attacks often extended this to weeks. Of 45 Tigers dispatched to Normandy in June 1944, only 17 arrived intact. June 13, 1944, Villers-Bocage has been celebrated as pinnacle of German tank warfare. In roughly 15 minutes, tanks under Wittmann's command destroyed 14 tanks, 15 personnel carriers, and 2 anti-tank guns of the British 7th Armored Division. German propaganda proclaimed it proof of Tiger invincibility. What they did not report was aftermath. Within 72 hours, the British 7th Armored had received complete replacement of all lost vehicles from depot stocks. Wittmann's company, which lost 3 Tigers in subsequent fighting, would not receive replacements for 6 weeks. Lieutenant Colonel John Cloudsley Thompson of the 7th Armored later wrote, "Wittmann was brilliant, no doubt, but brilliance is exhaustible. Industrial production is not. He could destroy our tanks faster than we could brew tea, but we could replace our tanks faster than he could reload." Sherman tanks were designed for maintenance by conscripts with basic training. Entire transmission replaced in 4 hours. Track replacement took 90 minutes. Engine swaps required 6 hours. Technical Sergeant Robert Early, maintenance chief for 3rd Armored Division, explained, "The Sherman was like a farm tractor with armor. Any kid who worked on his dad's John Deere could figure it out. Something broke, unbolt it, bolt on new one. We had knocked out Shermans running again before the Germans finished diagnosing what was wrong with their Tiger." Tiger maintenance was a nightmare of complexity. The interleaved wheel system, brilliant for weight distribution, required removing up to 9 wheels to replace 1 damaged inner wheel. A 12-hour job under ideal conditions. The transmission needed specialized tools and trained mechanics. The Maybach engine required constant adjustment. Feldwebel Hans Bauer, Tiger mechanic with Schwere Panzer Abteilung 502, described reality. "In Russia, we had a Tiger with transmission damage. Replacement transmission was in Germany. It took 3 weeks to arrive. Installing it required removing the turret. We needed a 15-ton crane. No crane available. The Tiger sat useless for 2 months while Shermans passed us every day. Each Tiger required crew of 5 highly trained specialists. Training a complete crew properly required 19 man-months of instruction. Germany was losing Tiger crews faster than they could be trained. When Tiger 007 was destroyed on August 8th, killing Wittmann and his crew, Germany lost 60 man-months of irreplaceable training. Americans faced no such crisis. By 1944, Fort Knox graduated 2,000 fully trained Sherman crews monthly. Standardization meant any crew could operate any tank. Wounded members were replaced from a pool of 10,000 trained replacements waiting in England. The Battle of the Bulge, December 1944, provided final mathematical proof. Hitler assembled his last reserve, 450 tanks, including 69 precious King Tigers. Against this, Americans could deploy 8,000 tanks in Europe, with 6,000 more in reserve. Initial German success seemed to validate quality over quantity. King Tigers destroyed Shermans at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. Individual Tigers claimed dozens of kills, but mathematics reasserted itself within days. The 40 Shermans destroyed on December 17th were replaced by December 19th. The 60 destroyed on December 18th were replaced by December 20th. General Patton's Third Army turned north with 350 Shermans on December 22nd. Within 48 hours, despite losing 88 tanks, Patton had 400 operational Shermans. Replacement vehicles had exceeded losses. Meanwhile, Joachim Peiper had abandoned all his Tigers for lack of fuel, destroying them to prevent capture. By early 1945, American production had achieved something beyond numbers. It created strategic freedom. Commanders could plan operations knowing losses would be replaced immediately. They could trade tanks for objectives. They could use Shermans as expendable assets. General Omar Bradley explained, "We knew we would lose 4 Shermans for every Tiger killed. We also knew we had 10 Shermans for every Tiger. The mathematics were simple. We could afford the exchange. They could not." German commanders faced strategic paralysis. Every Tiger lost reduced future capabilities. By March 1945, standing orders prohibited Tiger units from engaging unless absolutely necessary. When Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945, production tallies told the complete story. German production: Tiger 1, 1,347 produced. Tiger 2, King Tiger, 489 produced. Total Tigers, approximately 1,839. American production: M4 Sherman, all variants, 49,234 produced. Additional 2,000 plus by British and Canadian factories. Total Allied Shermans, over 51,000. The ratio: 27.7 Shermans for every Tiger. Operational reality, May 1945. Tigers operational with Wehrmacht, fewer than 20. Shermans operational worldwide, approximately 35,000. At a 1975 Fort Knox reunion, German ace Otto Carius, with over 150 kills, spoke candidly. "We were fighting mathematics, not Americans. I could destroy 10 Shermans and 20 would appear. It was not combat, but arithmetic. We were calculators trying to defeat an avalanche with individual excellence." Staff Sergeant Clyde Brunson responded, We knew most of us were not tank aces. We did not need to be. We needed to be adequate and numerous. Wars are not won by heroes, but by production lines. In 1989, former Tiger commander Friedrich Schultz returned to Normandy for the 45th anniversary of D-Day. Standing in the American cemetery above Omaha Beach, he spoke to assembled veterans. "We came with the world's best tanks, convinced of our superiority. You came with good enough tanks and overwhelming numbers. We fought with excellence. You fought with arithmetic. In war, arithmetic always wins. We built 1,347 Tigers. You built 49,234 Shermans. Those numbers are not statistics. They are the difference between dictatorship and democracy, between scarcity and abundance, between defeat and victory." The German Tiger was a masterpiece of engineering, a testament to technical excellence. It was also a strategic disaster, a resource sink. Ultimately, a monument to the fallacy that tactical superiority can overcome industrial inferiority. The American Sherman was a compromise, a good enough solution, a triumph of practicality over perfection. It was also a war winner, a strategic masterpiece, ultimately a monument to the power of industrial democracy. Germany built 1,347 Tigers, each one a mechanical marvel that could dominate any battlefield. America rolled out 49,234 Shermans and buried the Third Reich beneath an avalanche of adequate tanks. The numbers tell the entire story. In the end, the Tiger versus Sherman debate was never about tanks at all. It was about production philosophy, industrial capacity, and the mathematics of modern war. Germany lost the war in the factories of Detroit long before they lost it on the battlefields of Europe. They were defeated not by better tanks, but by more tanks. Not by superior quality, but by overwhelming quantity. Not by tactical excellence, but by strategic arithmetic. The Tiger remains a symbol of German engineering excellence. The Sherman remains a symbol of American production power. But the 49,234 to 1,347 ratio remains the only number that mattered. The mathematical proof that in industrial warfare, the assembly line defeats the craftsman's bench every single time.